Well, about 8.5 billion rands worth of vehicles are stolen and hijacked in the country annually. This is contained in a recent report by the South African Insurance Crime Bureau, which further says vehicle theft is crippling the country's economy. Now, for more on this, we're now joined in studio by Hugo van Zyl. He's the Chief Operations Officer at the South African Insurance Crime Bureau. Hugo, appreciate your time. I guess what factors are taken into account when you give an insurance quote or when an insurance company gives an insurance quote?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not in the insurance business. I'm only in the crime business. But I think there's quite a few factors that's playing a role. The actuarial guys at the insurance industry will actually work that out. I think risk, the type of vehicle, the age of the person, the place where the vehicle are parked, etc., is all taken into consideration. But really, I'm in the crime field, really not into the space of the insurance itself.
Well, looking at the crime, it's obviously, many people say they work in syndicates. I mean, it's just not one person looking for a car. Explain to us the sort of dark underworld of car crime in the country.
There's no doubt that it's syndicated crime that's taking place, orchestrated from within South Africa as well as across the borders. If we can just take at this stage the newest way of dealing with hijackings, expensive luxury vehicles at this stage from the Volrand area in southern of Johannesburg will be hijacked by 2 or 3 or 4 people. They will actually detain the driver of that vehicle or the victim. They will then detain him until such time that the tracking device has been removed. They will then at the same time will hold the gun against the head of this guy, take his credit cards, and then will also then deplete his banking account to the maximum of the day, and also utilize the bank card for buying liquor, etc., etc. So from our side in the Gauteng area, there's a problem at this stage. We can clearly see, because of the fact that we're the only manufacturer of vehicles in Southern Africa, the emerging markets out there, the emerging economies in Africa plays a huge role, because the people actually place orders from these countries for vehicles from South Africa.
I want to touch, there's 2 things I want to touch on. Obviously, you spoke of a tracking device and the manufacturers. I mean, surely, are they that easily findable, these tracking devices, that they can just be taken out of cars? I mean, the whole point of them is to be there to track a vehicle. I mean, if it's so easy to take it out, what's the point of putting it there?
Absolutely true. That is why they detain the people, to give them more time to remove them. But I must tell you, these equipment, tracking devices, microdotting, etc., are really playing a huge role. The main reason for the hijackings to be on the increase is because they place certain items within these vehicles that make it very difficult to steal. And some of our most luxurious vehicles are very difficult to steal. Then there's no option as to actually to hijack a person or to have a violent robbery at home, where they will do exactly the same. Nowadays we see that they don't actually attack people at home for the home contents or the electronics at home, but just to get the vehicles in.
But it's also, you spoke of the luxury vehicles, there's also a huge market for the the old Volkswagen 70s, 80s cars.
I can tell you that in some of the areas in South Africa, the most stolen vehicle is a 1996 Mazda Mitch, or some of the old 1978, 80, 82 Toyota Tazas. So these vehicles are very, very important at this stage for taxis being utilized in certain areas. So it is and we must also understand drug dependency play a huge role within our vehicle crime situation in South Africa. People will actually steal vehicles just to sell it, to feed their own drug dependency.
And also parts, I guess, play an important part.
Yeah, 10% of our local market, the vehicles that's been stolen in South Africa goes into the chop shops, which are being used by unscrupulous panel beaters and backyard mechanics to place on vehicles that's actually either these parts been used in insurance claims. So yeah, it's a real problem, but I think the biggest problem still remains that our high-end value vehicles are leaving our country to the SADC countries and even further north in Africa.
So you say a large percentage of them leave the border once that car is taken, it heads out of the country almost immediately.
I think what they tend to do at this stage with house robberies, they will detain the people in the house. until such time then when they across the border, the people driving the car through our porous border lines will then inform the people that's detaining the people in the house that they across the border, they can then let go the people that's in the house.
Now, obviously, here the research is being done. How do we minimize it? I mean, where do we start?
I think the only way to do it is that we have to work together in South Africa, all law enforcement agencies, all private partners out there, all the stakeholders that got invested interest in vehicle crime, against vehicle crime in South Africa, have to stand together. You know what, if we're going to work in silos, we are not going to win the war against crime in South Africa. And that's the only way that we will be able to win it. And I normally say to our own industry as well, we need to stand together to prove to government that we want to join hands against crime. And that is exactly what the South African insurance industry has done. We stand together against crime. That is why we can play a vital role against crime in South Africa.
Well, yeah, interesting. I'm chatting to Hugo van Zyl, he's the CEO of the SA Insurance Bureau, but he's obviously he deals with the Crime Bureau. Hugo, I appreciate your time. Some interesting stats coming out of that.